Hey team, on the podcast today we have the lovely Liz Plosser, Editor-in-Chief of Women's Health. We talk about how trusting your gut, being passionate and manifesting goals can lead to your success, and we bust out a pretty wicked carrot and apple kimchi and some corn fritters too. Make sure you listen to this one. What a baller podcast we have today. I say baller because it's pretty epic to have an Editor-in-Chief of Women's Health, Liz Plosser, here with us this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thanks, Dan.
Yeah,
that was really quite an intro.
Of
I appreciate
course.
it. I'm a super fan of yours, so when you reached out about this, I got goosebumps. So
Oh, wow.
This is exciting to be here for me.
That's super humbling. It's interesting because some of your position is, I think what I'm going to love from today is talking about your journey to where you become what you have through different stages and what you've learned in each one. But to have someone in the health industry, doing what you're doing at the pivotal point of making decisions on what kind of content and educational spheres we have coming our way, that's really cool, and I love that. So
thank you.
Of course. So before we get diving into what you actually do day to day, I want to hear about your journey and our listeners to hear about your journey. So we're here in the kitchen. We're going to be doing some food.
Yes.
And you have had a special request this morning, but a little bit on that later. Let's start out before you became the Editor-in-Chief of Women's Health. Where did Liz begin?
Okay. So I'll try to do a turbo version of this because my path was zigged and zagged along the way to where I am now, which is, I must say, my dream job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it truly is. So my first job out of college was actually in investment banking. I was an analyst, and I know, like, the mic drops. You're like, what?
Yeah.
That's where you started?
Yeah, I'm trying to have that ambient silence to create a bit more environment.
I was always really interested in business and economics in college, though I was also very interested in the newspaper and had been a magazine lover for many years. But the banks and consulting firms sort of descend upon your college campus, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I started going on some interviews, and one thing led to another, and I got a job offer, and it was like my ticket to New York. But I very quickly realized it was not my life's passion. I stayed there a year and learned as much as I could, and really took that time to soul search about what I wanted to do. I signed up for my first marathon to try to work through it.
Well, high five there.
Yes, which I've come to learn is always helpful in my life when I'm dealing with something and need to consider what's next. Running helps me a lot.
So running specifically or health in general?
Health in general, but running specifically.
Sure.
I definitely have my lightning bolt moments and work through things when I'm out on a run.
Nice.
So it's always been big for me.
That's great.
And it was on a long run with these strangers that I was training for the marathon with that I articulated a dream that I'd literally had the night before, which was that I worked at a magazine as a health and fitness editor. Wow. So I feel like I manifested it on that run, and saying it out loud and then hearing them say, like, I could really see you doing that, really gave me the confidence to start networking and see if this was actually a career pivot I could make. And I'll cut to the chase, which is through a friend of a friend of a friend, I got in front of the editor-in-chief of Self magazine, and I got a job as the lowest woman on the totem pole, an editorial assistant at Self in the fitness department. So that was my first job in media and publishing, and I was really scared. It was a huge pay cut, and what if I don't like this either? Then what? But I instantly fell in love with it and knew that this was the thing I wanted to do forever and ever. So that's how it all began. Yeah. And then I was at Self for a few years, kind of climbing the ladder. My husband and I left for Chicago, where he got his PhD, and I worked at the weekly magazine Time Out Chicago, but kept freelancing for wellness magazines like Self and Shape and Women's Health. And then we're kind of unicorns because we left New York and then came back with children.
Wow.
Yes, which no one does, but we did it.
Yeah, that's a situation in itself.
Yeah, that's a whole other story. But the first job I got in New York was at Cosmo under Joanna Coles, who was sort of rebranding the magazine and making it feel more modern and empowered, which was an amazing opportunity. I got to work on rebuilding how we thought about health and wellness at Cosmopolitan. And then I left and became deputy editor at Self magazine. And then I left magazines completely, and I went to the brand side, and I was senior director of content at SoulCycle, which is the boutique fitness brand. You know it, right? You've heard of it.
No offense. If no one knows SoulCycle, that's outside, I guess America, and even it's now.
Now it's London and Canada.
I'm not going to say you've been lying under a rock, but just Google SoulCycle.
Yes, Google SoulCycle, exactly. And then from there, I went to Well and Good, which is a digital wellness and lifestyle brand, and was really, really deep in the digital space. And then Hearst called, and I never in my wildest dreams thought I would go back into magazine land, but as I said, this was my dream job. Like women's health, I had been reading it since the year it went out on newsstands, like running to the newsstand every month to buy it and flip through it. So to say I was a super fan of the brand is like the biggest understatement. So I'm in as much disbelief as you are, or anyone is, that my life turned out this way. It's amazing.
That is an absolutely incredible journey. I think anyone listening can just be inspired by so many different action steps that took place there.
Yeah.
Being in a job of finance, it's very common. We hear people in finance come to New York City.
Yep.
And they do it for a few years, but they realize as much as it's great maybe for the bank, it takes a toll on maybe another side of you, and you develop this creative understanding of who you truly are.
Exactly.
But a lot of people at that point aren't willing to take the sacrifice.
Totally. That's like the pivotal moment, because you could keep rising up. You could make that your life and then keep getting salary bumps and all the things that happen with it. It's a scary choice to leave that. But I think for me, I felt like if I find what I'm really passionate about, it will work out, and eventually like the money stuff, the quality of life stuff, that'll all be part of it.
I have to agree in saying that I always say passion doesn't lie.
Yeah.
And as a result, it's infectious, and it relates to people wanting to support or be involved with what you're doing. Being involved in food, it's something that everyone loves. So I'm very fortunate that people are really growing to the idea of seeing the video recipes we're putting out. But ultimately, it's a sacrifice to do that initially.
Yeah.
Now, I love the fact that you were driven by passion and still are today. I think that's a phenomenal takeaway for anyone.
Thanks, Dan.
But it's a huge thing to be in that position to take that leap. So I want to help other people in this moment right now where they're in this moment right now in a job that they think is, great for, as we talked about, easy to continue just going that line, but they have this other creative thought.
Yeah.
So what was it like at that moment? What was it like at that moment to make that decision? So obviously you're doing pros and cons.
Yes, actually, I did a lot of pros and cons, and that's a system I use in my life when I'm considering the next step and weighing one decision over another. I make the pro and con list, and I know this sounds funny, but it's something my dad told me, which was, I guess it's essentially, what does your gut say? But it's like, does your stomach drop, or does it have butterflies of excitement? And if you can sort of like tune into your body chemistry when you're looking at the lists, or when you're saying, I could do this, your body like already knows what it wants to do. And you just kind of have to trust it and listen to it.
So you went with your gut.
I went with my gut.
You trusted your gut.
Yeah.
Something I say all the time. It's again, it's not an easy thing to make that leap, but having that, weighing everything up, but ultimately when you know inside how you feel about it, and you come home and I should be doing this, and then the next day you still go to work and you do the same thing.
Yeah.
And after 3 months pass, and you're like, I still want to do this, and like, well, it's not going to happen until you actually do it, until you make that decision, until you take that sacrifice. And I tell you what, I think something you will relate to is once you make that leap, you are on your own. So if you are truly a fighter and you want to do this, you will make it happen.
Yeah, you make it happen.
Because you didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, it's so true.
You've made that decision. That's fantastic. Let's talk about the actual steps that you took once you were in that position. You took the leap to step away from that existing job. And what is it that you think your employers saw in you for growth? Because
as a young editor?
Yeah. We'll talk about, the headhunting aspect from, Hearst themselves, but initially, from you starting out where you are, which is fantastic, because like I started out as a kitchen hand.
Yeah.
So that growth, what is it you think they saw in you for growth?
I was just so happy to be there. I had an amazing, looking back, I had such a great attitude about whether it was the smallest task of like filing invoices and running downstairs and grabbing my director coffee. But I would have gladly written every page of the magazine. You know what I mean? So whether it was the minutia stuff interns are supposed to do, or like the big, amazing, exciting things like a byline on a 6-page feature, I was there and up for all of it. And I know that they saw that in me, because they would tell me, like, I know you'll write the whole section if we want you to, like, that's too much, but so I think that really helped me move up the ladder quickly.
You're almost top of mind as the person that everyone loved within the space, and it's okay for me to say that. By the sounds of it, you can be like all humble, but I'm going to say it because I'm going to be in your corner. So that's awesome. Like, thanks. You were top of mind for something that within a very competitive world, you made sure that you weren't out there to, be better than anyone. You just were happy and passionate, and so you wanted to be there.
I really did.
That just is shown by your growth, because people were, probably sending you tasks, and whether or not you can complete them, they relied on you because they thought they could, which is awesome. That's really incredible.
Thanks.
Of course. So then we get to this is a really cool thing. So what was it like to be reached out to for like your dream job? It wasn't as if you were applying.
I know. I was in a state of shock.
Did that like a whole week?
It was a crazy day. I felt like a little bit numb.
What were you doing? What were you doing at the time?
What was I doing?
Yeah.
I was at
a phone call.
It was a phone call. It was a voicemail that I listened to, and then went into a private area to take it and just heard about it. And I was like, how could I do this? I hadn't been in my current position for very long, and I was really happy there and building out a team. But one thing I learned from one of my mentors earlier in my career is you never say no to the conversation. And that's something that's really stuck with me over time. So even though in that instant I was like, I just got to this new job, how could I be talking about it? I had the conversation, and then that's how it all begins. And
was it pretty quick? Did you know, or was it you actually and ah for a little bit, or were you I'm going to take this job? In your gut, going back to your gut, what you were talking about?
Oh, once I got into the process, I would have been devastated if I hadn't gotten it.
Sure.
That's how passionately I felt about it. I also knew how many amazing candidates must be out there, so it wasn't like I thought it was a home run by any means. I felt like anything could happen. I knew there were a lot of other fantastic people who were being considered, so it never ever felt like a sure thing. But have you ever wanted something really bad and you haven't gotten it? I have. So I was bracing myself for that.
Yeah. No, it is devastating that it happens, but I think I don't know. I feel that some way that you put out that vision that you want to be in that role, I think you would have somehow got there because of the energy that you put out, and I really mean that. I think there's the kind of person that will have an opportunity go by, and unfortunately it may not happen.
Yeah.
But then if they are in the right frame of mind, that they truly are keen for that opportunity, they'll find it some way to make it happen, or they'll learn from that and realize that a better opportunity occurred as a result of not getting
Totally.
it.
Yeah. So opens other doors.
So how long was this time between you going on that run, that first time, to wanting to be an editor-in-chief? Yeah, and then to actually being editor-in-chief? So
I was 23 years old, and I got the job at Women's Health when I turned 38, so 15 years later. 15 years. But you put it out there. I put it out there. I manifested it as a young 20-something. Did you have a mood board? Did you put in a mood board? I do have a mood board. You do? I do. I have that. It's in my office. It's interesting though, because I will say, as I progressed in my career, the media landscape changed quite a bit. Sure. So, the job of editor-in-chief evolved so much, and I will say that some of the jobs, the career pivots I took along the way, leaving media and going to the brand side at SoulCycle, leaving print completely and going into the digital space. I feel like it's okay for your dream to transform as you go, and I'm almost surprised that my original one is the one that came to fruition. Do you know what I mean? life is crazy, especially in the media and digital world. And I think you have to be nimble with how you think about what your next steps are. And sometimes what you had your eye on when you're in your 20s is like actually not, you know what I mean?
Without a doubt.
Changes.
Like, let's take example of the way that, you know, the editorial world has changed so much. But I feel that you look at your path as an example, you went from, you know, studying out what you did to learning about writing in a way that's more correspondent with the topic of what you're doing today, to then, you know, eventually get into Soul Cycle and be doing content. Now, forgive me if I'm just having a mad crack at this, but I'm sure that women's health would not be interested if you did not have a massive digital aspect to your, you know, your brand. So evolving through what an editor-in-chief was back then, it may be still the type of role, but in terms of what you've learned from then to now has really helped shape why you are the perfect person for that position. Because digital is so much now. Yeah. Like, look at this space.
Yep.
Look at Don, look at Maddie. Like, the reason why we have this opportunity to do content anytime, like my vision was to be someone who could change the world through food. And I'm aiming for that every single day. And content was not the same what it was 15 years ago. But today we can do this stuff. And for you to be in the position, of course, it may be making different decisions about different things, but you're still making the decisions that probably what really motivated you to start.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And when I think about me as a leader and what I bring to the brand and how that helps differentiate us from competitors or just other women's brands that are out there, I do feel like because I worked on the brand side and in the digital side and I was in print and I even was in finance, I have this like 360 degree holistic view of
let's talk this up.
How women are consuming wellness and thinking about it. And I find that incredibly helpful and valuable every day across all of our channels at Women's
100%.
Health. Yeah.
100%. I want to hear more. I really do. We're going to hear from one of our sponsors and we're going to keep chatting and do some cooking when we get back.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Liz, your request was some sort of kimchi situation. Yeah. Why kimchi?
I love anything pickled.
Yeah. Okay.
I always go for the pickles on menus, and if I see kimchi, done. Like, that's happening. Over. So you said, check out my menu, and I wanted to order like 17 things off of it. I was like, this is the hardest thing. He's making me pick something else. But I wanted to see what you would do with kimchi.
Love that. I love that. So, cameraman Don is actually from Korea. We were educated earlier. How many kimchi variations did he tell you about?
What did you say? Like
that I know of.
38?
38 kimchi.
Yeah.
Those who are playing at home that he know of, it's like a dialect. Like each different region, I'm sure, would have its own
had
thing.
no idea.
But we love it though, because it's fantastic probiotic.
Exactly.
You know, it's really good for your gut. So today I'm going to do not your average kimchi.
Okay.
Okay, so what we're going to do is a kimchi is usually done with wonbok or a type of cabbage, and then had some Korean spices and chili done to it. But we're going to use our apple and carrot slaw, and which has been fermenting in its own juices all over time. And we're going to add some chili goodness to that. You're going to have that on top of some corn fritters and a little bit of avocado just to make it the ultimate breakfast.
Oh, sounds amazing.
How's that sound?
Good.
So we've already shelled some corn here, guys. So just taking that directly off the husk. So you've got these beautiful... I've learned a lot about American agriculture and how corn is at the foundation of that, along with wheat and other things. More on that later. We're going to be definitely talking about ecology and other things. But I'm really happy to be sharing this recipe for you. It's one of the corn fritters are a really popular one out of my cookbook. And so I found that everyone's been reposting it. So why not then share it with someone that I've always aspired to be in front of in terms of an editor-in-chief of a huge health editorial. So how is your egg cracking situation with one hand?
It's pretty good.
Yeah?
One hand?
One hand. Wow.
I was going to say good until you... But I can...
I feel like we have a challenge on this podcast. You know? Everyone's been coming on. Any single time we have an egg involved, I'm always challenging them to the egg. I'm always challenging them to the one-handed egg cracking. So
can I watch you do it first?
Yeah. So cricket ball, maybe a tennis ball. You want to get a nice clean crack in between, just like that. And then using your thumb and like a hinge with the back of your knuckle, you're just going to separate like that and remove.
Okay.
Not to put any pressure on. Not to put any pressure on. But we had Liz Plosser from Well and Good in here, and she nailed it first game.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
I used to work with moms.
I know. I was gonna say, yeah, you would have some fair.
So in my house, my husband is the main chef.
Sure.
I am sous chef. We love to cook. We
Okay.
cook almost every night. But I normally tasks like this, the more advanced ones.
This is like the edge
I'm
is
just
a foundation.
prefacing it.
Okay, so you're trying to you're playing it down. Ready?
I'm playing it down. Am I holding it correctly?
I might have to get this on Instagram. Yeah, 100%. This is going to stories. Hang on 1 second. 5, 4, 3, 2. Let's go. 1.
Okay.
Nice, clean. Oh yes! Nailed. Oh, she's so happy too. Hubby is gonna be so impressed. That is awesome.
I did it.
I'm loving this. Wow. Everyone's killing the one-handed egg challenge. So everyone playing at home who aren't listening, everyone playing at home who aren't watching the video, Liz nailed it. We've got a nice clean crack. You can follow that along. And so to this, we're just going to add some sort of flour. We have oat flour, which just have left over from another recipe. And so we're just going to add that in. And all you're looking for is to get to a nice, I don't use a reference of glue, but a nice sticky together kind of homogeneous mix. So you just kind of add as much flour that is needed until that happens. So if we're looking down at our mixture right now, it's still quite liquidy. So just going to add a little bit more flour. And that's like the basis for your fritter. So you've got 3 ingredients: egg, corn, and then your favorite flour. Really simple. Then just season it with some pepper and some salt, which I definitely have here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Perfect. Boom. And then what you do is just, before you add it to the heat, you make little patties, which you'll do in a second. But when we're talking about your kimchi that you're after, so have you ever used the grater attachment for a food processor before?
Yes, I believe I have.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It makes life a lot easier. So everyone listening on, if you have the grater attachment to a food processor and you want to get nice, beautiful strands of anything, or even just grating anything, it makes life a lot easier. Rather than using I'm all about using
muscle
and all those kind of movements. As you can definitely see, Liz is quite a fit person herself, so maybe she can say otherwise about this. But essentially all you're doing is putting that through this beautiful grater, and you're going to get strands of loveliness, and that's how we're going to get our slaw that we make here at Charlie Street. So we'll get this going.
Nice.
Really simple.
So fast.
So fast. I injured myself this morning, so that's why I'm using this and not my hands. Okay, so I'm going to come back to this in a second, and I want to get chatting on your current days and what is it like to be an editor-in-chief in a daily routine in New York City?
Yeah, well, I start my day very early. I'm definitely a morning person.
Sure.
Most mornings I set my alarm for 5:17. 7 is my lucky number.
Okay.
And then I either meet some girlfriends who live in the neighborhood in Brooklyn for a jog around Prospect Park.
Nice.
Or I'll just hit the Y. That's a couple blocks down from our apartment.
7?
YMCA.
Oh, I was like, that's a lingo.
I know.
I was like, I know Soul Cycle, don't know the Y yet.
I know. I love all the cool, awesome places, boutique fitness workouts,
Yeah.
and I love Y7.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh gosh.
This is going to be
I
like an
have
opening
many.
question.
This is a toughie.
This is a great way to about to get a really good free couple of membership classes.
All right, I do have several favorites. Right now, I'm really digging Gloveworks,
Yep.
the boxing class
Yep.
that just it started in LA and they just opened
up here.
in the World Trade Center. I love the class with Taryn Toomey.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's awesome. I love SLT.
Okay.
I love Soul Cycle. Always
Of course
have.
you do. Yeah.
It's been a big part of my life. And then I'll try anything. But I must say, I have 3 children and this big, busy job.
Cool.
So I am finding, ironically, that like the bigger the job gets, the less time you have to be out exploring and trying new fitness classes and like having a regular routine
And
at a boutique fitness.
podcasts and
I would do anything for you and this
thanks,
kimchi
Liz.
we're about to eat. But I just find running is super easy. Just tie up your sneakers and out the door you go.
Yeah, it's very simple. And do you find it's like one of the best creative times for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's we were kind of talking about that earlier. You know, I'll go on a solo run to work through a problem, or if there's a story or a package we're concepting at Women's Health, or just some big thing I'm thinking about, I often find that running and just kind of turning off my brain magically resolves it, and I kind of have these aha moments while I'm out there. So for me, it's a huge part of my creative process. And it's also a huge part of staying social with my girlfriends. Like, it's really busy with kids and work and everything. So I love that I get to catch up with the women who are important in my life, like for an hour, 4 times a week. Like, that's pretty magical.
That's brilliant. What about you though? Like when you travel and like you time, do you value that a lot?
Yeah, if I'm traveling alone, I'm always the night before checking out the hotel gym and like what's the situation, so I can kind of in my brain build what the workout's going to be. And I'm like a do-it-yourselfer. I have my personal training certification, so I kind of know what I'm doing.
No, you
I
definitely
should.
do. You do.
And I often use the workouts and moves that we put online and in the magazine for Women's Health. It's fun to road test them and actually see how effective they are.
Sure.
So I'll create my own routine and just have that like solo time in the gym.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting. Do you find there's a lot of pressure being in the role that you are to maintain a lifestyle that represents what the brand stands for?
I think that's a good question. I feel like there should be, because this is a huge brand, and fortunately, I would say it comes naturally to me because I do, in all honesty, live and breathe this lifestyle. I've always been into health and wellness. I've always been like a sporty, active person since I was a child. So I'm not faking it. It's not like a hardship for me to put on my Instagram, just tried this workout or making this healthy meal. Like, that's really the way I live my life. And I will say that my editorial team, and they are superstars, it's the same for them. Like, we tend to attract, and the culture of the brand is really people who are passionate about wellness. And like, it's not just something you turn off when you leave the office at the end of the day. Like, we're all on to the next, having some sort of wellness experience. So.
Yeah, that's company culture is essential, and I think that when you are, again, goes back to why you are perfect for the role, because you have to be at the forefront of what is the brand, right? So the decisions that may take place, you may not actually action them, but if someone was not to action them, people reading along or even your workers may not feel as if it's something they can follow. So you have to lead.
Yeah.
Everything that you do is a leadership thing, whether it be your actions at work or if it's your actions, outside of it. And
right.
That's a responsibility, and to some extent a sacrifice that comes with being in the role that you are. Anyone who's a leader knows that leading by example is probably the biggest thing that they should do to get a great culture out of their team.
Yep, 100%.
So
100% agree.
It's really cool to hear that you're doing that. And do you find yourself, encouraging it regularly within the staff to have, a really solid life balance? Like, do you have, some sort of strategies behind that?
Yeah, it's always been something as a leader that's been important to me, because I've certainly worked places where that wasn't prioritized, and I've seen how that affects the morale of the team and ultimately the performance of the product, the brand. So it's something I actively encourage. And we try to do fun things for the team, like we will do team workouts. We just did one recently where the men's health team and the women's health team got together and we went and did a cool stretching class at Equinox. So, and for our holiday party in December, we had wine, so it was celebratory and fun, but we went to the Sill, which is a plant shop on the Upper West Side, and we potted plants together and learned about how when you have plants in your home, how the oxygen is so healthy and helps clear the air. So it just sort of infuses everything we do, and I hope that my team feels that.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. So I think it's something, like, you always aspire to people. You really do. Like, you look towards people, and that's why those actions that you do have much more of an impact than what you say. And I think I was just listening to that. I'm like, people talk about all the time how places like Google and Facebook would be awesome to work at. I think it's been a while since I've actually worked for someone else But I feel if I was to work at a company, I think it'd be so cool to work in the brand that you are a part of. Because like health and fitness is my life.
Yeah.
Health, fitness and food. So, being a part of a team that we go to workout classes together or do something that's really, you're constantly talking about how to optimize our happiness, which is what I talk about as health.
Yep.
So that's a really cool thing to be a part of. You try and, I don't want to say Googleize, but healthify, fun your office?
Yeah, well, we just moved into a new space with Men's Health, so we're in the process of outfitting it and making it feel on brand and like our own.
Of course.
I'm on a mission to get sparkling fizzy water on our floor so we can all have access to that. I love seeing that in your restaurant.
Thank you very much.
I just immediately poured myself a glass. I was like, this is so cool. He has it on tap.
So we've got a quick little plug here for Still Sparkling Water. So for every 10,000 bottles of water that we save by using that tap, we build a well in a third world country.
That's awesome.
So
now I love this glass I'm sipping even more. That's so cool.
Thank you.
So we're looking for little touches like that. But it's other things too, like if I see an editor come in a bit late and she's in her leggings because she was doing a workout class in the morning, or somebody who we work at Columbus Circle, right by Columbus Circle, who takes a run during lunch around the park, I want to go give them a high five. Sure. Like nothing makes me happier because I know their brain cells will be firing. They're going to have such a productive afternoon because they took that 45 minutes for themselves rather than, just feeling lethargic and blah.
Yeah.
So that's really important to me that my team, and we're so busy, so of course this is not something you can just jump up and do every day, but I want them to feel that that I support them and that I think they should earn gold stars on the days they do that.
Company culture, huge.
Yeah.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you face though? And I think in your position there's the obvious ones about what kind of stories that must take place and more precedence over others or in that kind of regard. But what are some of the things we wouldn't know that big challenges that you face?
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest things happening in our industry is just how quickly the digital space changes. And the women's health team recently integrated, which means the former print editors and former digital editors came together as one melded team, which has been really cool. Like everyone's teaching each other things, but also a huge learning curve on both sides. Suddenly people are contributing to platforms they really don't have experience on. So I think just managing that and doing it in a compassionate way, I don't want to burn anybody out along the way, but we also have very lofty, aggressive goals for how our business and brand are going to grow. So I think it's sort of managing both of those pieces of it. And then I think just constantly feeling like you need to be nimble and agile as like a Google algorithm changes, that can affect your page views, so you have to change strategies quickly. I personally find that really fun. I like to pivot. I know, I do. I think that's exciting.
Like I love peeling potatoes. So I'll do that. You do you. That's fantastic.
Well, I think it's really cool when you can crack the nut, and but just as soon as you crack one nut and you get comfortable, then along comes another one. So for me, it's all about building a team of just total superstar people and empowering them to be awesome at their jobs. I don't have the time or desire to micromanage them. I think everybody's more successful and can reach their goals and feels more personally and professionally fulfilled when they have that autonomy. So that's kind of my management style.
So if you've got an operator, a creative, let's say a business owner, and you look at a business in that regard, how much of your job is more delegation and management operation versus the creative side?
Well, I certainly write and edit less than I used to.
Sure.
I get a editor's letter every month, which
that's awesome.
Look forward to.
Open up that first page and see the lovely face there.
It's fun. But it is interesting. As you rise up the ranks, you sort of get further and further from the content in some ways.
Yep.
It's been interesting since this integration has happened and we've really accelerated it in the past month. I've been much more in the weeds with the team doing it, which has been fun. I feel like you need to know how to do everything to actually be the person who's delegating. You know what I mean?
100%.
I think you need to understand what people are, what a day in the life is like.
Yeah. Which is why it's great that you went from the position you were at the very start.
Yeah. But I'm definitely very involved in the creative side of it. Like that ultimately is the welcome mat that the brand puts out into the world.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Unreal. Well, I keep wanting to ask more questions, but Maddie keeps raising her hand in the background, letting me know that we've got our next break. So we'll hear from one of our sponsors and come back and get these awesome corn fritters and this apple carrot kimchi underway.
Yum.
All right, team, welcome back. We are currently underway with some beautiful sizzling corn fritters. So all it is just simply shape in a pan. So take a little portion out, shape in a pan to a patty-like texture, and add some olive oil. And before you do that, you have got some beautiful golden edge.
They're all sizzly and crackly.
Yeah, you like
Sounds
that?
good, yeah.
It's like the sensations.
Yeah.
We love this. So take a little recap on the carrot and apple situation. So we simply shredded the apple and carrot through our processor. And then we added some chili flakes, some salt, some olive oil, and also a little bit of vinegar. So ideally, let that set in the fridge for about 2 to 3 days, and starts to get this nice little sour fermentation situation happening. And it turns into this. So Liz, we get your fork and not use my hands because I'm such a chef. And we get down deep into this part. Get your nice. There you go, there's a little portion for you.
I'm trying it.
Yeah, you're having a crack. Oh, yeah, it's always a strands. It's like spaghetti. Nice. Cool, right? Mm-hmm. So,
Delish.
as you've got a mouth half full of food, let's talk. Let me talk for a bit. So, I think you touched on earlier about your morning routine, and I think that's huge, big on my lifestyle. So my morning routine, it's actually changed in the past year slightly. Having a girlfriend, I'm not just thinking about myself anymore.
Yeah.
So I now get up, I actually read for the first half hour. So I get up at like 5:30, read for half an hour. And then I go to the gym before coming home.
Like you read on your phone or you read
No,
a real
I read a
book?
book. I read a book. Right now I'm reading The Third Plate by Dan Barber.
Nice.
Phenomenal book. I definitely think anyone should get it. Actually, just before we continue, I'm just going to see if we can flip 3 fritters at one time. We've done this before, haven't we, Don? Let's see if it wasn't a fluke. 3, 2, 1. Oh, one missed.
So close. That was impressive.
Thank you.
I'm surprised none went out,
Oh, yeah.
personally.
I mean, me too, actually. It happens all the time. So yeah, I have athletic greens, read, then go to the gym, and it's just like listen to a podcast, but it really helps set the tone of my day.
Yeah.
And I always say this because anything that happens from that moment on, you have distractions.
Totally.
Anything throughout your day can come up, new meetings, new things to go and see. So that's what I always do, anything controllable in the morning.
Yeah.
So that's, to me, like, ultimate. And I get home, and I don't look at emails until 9 a.m., which is when I get to work, generally speaking.
Gotcha.
So now we're here.
That's a good routine.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It is the morning.
I am also a big morning person.
Sure.
It's a big thing for women's health readers too.
Sure.
We have a little saying amongst the editorial staff that how you start your day is how you live your day.
Okay.
And I really believe that with all my heart. To your point,
100%.
like a million different things can take your day off the rails. But if you've had a morning that makes you feel good, whether that's sweating or meditating or reading or whatever it is, you're like in such a better place to handle it.
Definitely.
So we have a big issue coming out called the Own Your Morning issue. It's our June issue that goes on newsstands in mid-May. We're working on it now.
That's exciting.
And it's really born out of a page that we did in the magazine called Own Your Morning, where we would tap different types of women, whether it's a novelist or an actress or an athlete, and find out exactly what their morning routine is from the moment their alarm goes off to the moment they step out the door to head to work. And I find it so interesting to hear all the different things people do. Like, are you a coffee drinker? Are you a tea drinker? Do you make a smoothie? Do you have a dog you walk? It's just fascinating what makes people happy in those, personal, quiet moments, kind of those magical moments before the day is really off to its start.
When you have your you time.
When you have your you time, exactly. So we're doing a whole issue around it, and we're blowing it out on our digital channels, and it's a hashtag we as editors use, hashtag Own Your Morning. So I feel like you're feeling that vibe. You own your morning, Dan.
I'm owning my morning, so this is coming out.
You're already doing it.
That's
yeah.
exactly right. So this can be, so guys, you can obviously, everyone knows where you can get women's health magazines or, be online with it, but that's coming out in June, right?
Yeah, so it'll hit newsstands in mid-May.
Fantastic.
And you can always find those morning stories on our website at womenshealthmag.com.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so what's the actual Instagram for both yourself and, of course, for Women's Health?
So for Women's Health, the handle is at Women's Health Mag, and for me, it's at Liz Plosser.
Fantastic. So you can definitely hit up Liz and see her fantastic egg one-handed cracking abilities on there. And if you want to go to the Olympics,
And if you want to cheer when you see that,
yeah.
feel free.
Be all about it. Okay, so what are the things that you're seeing in the future of, I guess, you would say Hearst, right? Not just women's health. What do you see in the future? What's happening?
It's a super exciting time for us.
Sure.
I think what we're finding is that the brand has so many more legs and arms than the traditional ones that you think of. And so that's been really fun to explore. And we're honestly just starting to like crack the surface on that.
Yeah.
And another thing I'm really excited about is collaborating with our brother brand, Men's Health. We've done a couple of features with them, and we're going to do more of them in the future. So I love working with Rich, the editor-in-chief of Men's Health. We have like a great relationship, and I think it's a bit of a white space for brands like ours because we are such sibling brands, and we've really been leveraging each other's editors to help inform articles like, what does the Men's Health team think about body confidence? And we'll make them like do a Slack conversation, and we'll take some of their insights and use them, and vice versa. They've done that for some of their articles. So I think you can see more of those collaborations.
That's great.
And then just working with all of our international editions. You know, it's a global brand. We're in countries all over the world. So doing more themed issues where all of the women's healths around the world combine forces.
Yeah, it's great. I love seeing that. I love seeing Chris Hemsworth on 4 different men's health magazines.
Yeah, exactly.
It's I'm one of the chefs on his fitness app, Center.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Cool.
so it's always cool to see that, but then it sucks because I thought I was a token Aussie. I was doing some stuff on his thing. So it's all right, mate. We'll let that slide for this now. That's really cool, though. I think what you see in this day and age, a lot of collaborative efforts across these kind of big companies, and sometimes you do see it quite a stalemate. People like to stick to themselves, they know what they're right, and to hear that you guys are working together, that's really cool, because ultimately, particularly with health, we're all trying to achieve the same thing.
Totally.
So why not do it together? And I think one question I will ask, being a woman in this industry, like, and how it's changed so much, but also from a woman perspective, do you see it, moving forward in the right way, or are you still continuing to face, challenges and things like that in that regard?
I am proud to say that, especially at Hearst, we're moving in the right direction.
That's awesome.
I mean, I report to Kate Lewis, who's our Chief Content Officer. I think it's fabulous that we have a woman in that role. She's been a mentor to me. She actually was the managing editor at Self Magazine when I first worked there. Joanna Coles previously had that role. She was a mentor to me. I mean, mostly what I see is I could literally name like a dozen women who I specifically would like to give gratitude to for where I am today. It's just women helping women, and that's what's making the difference. That's why we're all rising up.
Yeah, and I have to say, like, I think I can speak on behalf of my friends who are very much in the health industry. Like, we are inspired by men, women, whoever, who are doing some amazing things, and you are a pure example of that. So on that, really nice empathetic note, let's talk about what food you are. So I always ask our guests, if you were an ingredient, a food, a meal, what would you be and why?
Ooh. That's a really cool question.
I know, right? I'd be spaghetti bolognese because I just want to be loved by everyone.
Aw, I like that.
It's also my last dish.
I love
it's
that.
my favorite dish.
All right, the first thing that popped in my head is one of my favorite dishes, is guacamole. It's the thing I make whenever I'm having friends over, whether it's a Super Bowl party or just a dinner party. I make good guacamole. That's like my thing.
You may be sous chef, but it sounds like you're balling out. So like,
I'm not sous chef on the guac.
Oh,
I get
really?
to handle that all by myself.
Yes.
And I like to make it spicy, and I think that's, I think you should have some spice and fire in your life.
I think guacamole really helps shape and get an understanding of who an individual is. Yeah. So let's talk about your guacamole. You're spicy. You're a bit of heat. So like, what else?
Yeah, I put a lot of jalapeno in there.
Love that.
I love a lot of acid, so I'm squeezing fresh lime in there.
Lovely.
I don't do the tomatoes in there.
Cool.
I find that they make it a little watery, even though I'm a huge tomato lover. Not in my guac. And I put in a good amount of red onion chopped finely.
Beautiful.
And fresh cilantro.
Okay.
So it's pretty traditional. It's got a nice pinch of salt in it.
Sure.
Some fresh garlic.
Yep. So you got the balance of
So
flavor.
got the balance,
Yep.
and then I whip it up early. I make it in a mocha hete.
Oh,
Yeah, I go.
Stop it.
No. I don't mess around with my guac.
Wow, okay. You're actually like, I was thinking, oh yeah, cool little party guac. It's actually elevated. It's something I'll probably serve. Watch out, Liz Plosser may be on the line at Charlie's.
And then I let it meld in the fridge until the guests come over, and then I bring it out with some delicious corn chips.
So, any of your friends listening to this episode are like, okay, next time we have a dinner party.
Well, they've all had it. They're like, I know that guacamole.
Oh, so it's actually
it's
a thing.
Yeah, it's definitely a thing.
Okay, when you guys have to put that in a next, has it been in an article before?
No.
Yeah, maybe you should be doing
Put that on my editor's letter.
Yeah, or you know what? We'll come back in here. We'll get you to cook it, and we'll have a video for ready and waiting.
I would
That's
love
great.
that.
Speaking of avocado situations, here is our corn fritters with apple, carrot, kimchi, and just a nice simple bit of avocado because it's a bit of a win.
That looks delicious.
It's got to be.
And it smells so good.
It's good, right?
Nobody can smell it, but it's wow.
It's super tasty. Yeah, if you guys have, I always say, smell-o-vision, it's coming. So we'll make sure that you guys can all be a part of that once it does. So, Liz, I just want to say thank you for your time. You're definitely someone in your position to be here right now, and something we all aspire to be. And I love how you have a journey that people will just be like, I can do this. 'Cause
Yeah.
hearing your story is like a New York story, but also one that typifies someone who is passionate, hardworking, and wants to achieve something. So
thanks, Dan.
thank you so much
I
for being
appreciate
here.
that. No, I loved it.
Of course,
Great
guys,
to chat.
Yeah, if you want to hit up any of the Women's Health handles as well, Women's Health Mag, Liz Plosser, was it?
Yep.
Liz Plosser. And then, of course, make sure you hit up the June issue because the morning is going to be something. What was the hashtag again?
# own your morning.
# own your morning. Well, on that note, I think it's time to tuck into some brekkie. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Thank you. Thanks again, Liz.
Thank you. Yeah.
Told you, she's wicked. Like, Liz being who she is absolutely the journey we all aspire to be. Left the finance game and really followed her heart. She's doing what she loves. This is her dream job. So we can all take a number of different points and learning tips from today's episode. If you liked today's episode, leave a review, guys. It takes a couple of minutes. Of course, if you did listen, let me know on Instagram. Screenshot it, tag me at Dan Churchill, and let us know what your thoughts are. Liz is a phenomenal woman as well, so make sure you tag her. She's doing some great stuff, as you can hear. And of course, make sure you subscribe because next week we've got another awesome person in the studio kitchen with another epic recipe. And of course, make sure you hit those corn fritters up. They are baller. Check your team.